So I think we can probably kick off, can't we? I thought what we could do, given that it's a new year, we could just do a little bit of intros of the key people who are involved in running the calls and the community who are on this call. So why don't we start off, you and I, Anna, we can introduce ourselves. And then I know we've got Dwayne and Scott and I think Charles is on. Yeah, we don't have V, but why don't we start with those? So I will start. I'm Lydia. I am one of the co-hosts to this call along with Anna. I work for Microsoft and the call's been going for, I think, probably 4 months now. And I have two roles at Microsoft. One is a product evangelist, so covering ERP, presenting at events, producing a lot of video content that ends up on social media, content that's used internally in Microsoft for product reviews, things like that. So very like storytelling heavy role. And then a community role, which is twofold. One, running the ERP and CRM community calls. And two, working with Dwayne and our colleague Scott, running the social media channel. So that's currently LinkedIn and YouTube, but watch this space for other channels that we may or may not be launching in 2025. So that's my intro. Anna, can I hand over to you?
Hi everyone, my name is Anna. I'm an MVP and for business applications, but mainly for AI, ERP, and Power Automate. And yeah, I've been running with Lydia this call, and I'm very happy that we're working together, and really happy also with the people that we have joining the call to share their knowledge and engage. Also, the people that is joining in the chat, we're very grateful for the interactions. We get a lot of ideas from the chat. So yeah, that's me, and welcome to our call.
Thanks, Anna. Dwayne, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Dwayne Montague, and I am one of our awesome community. Well, awesome. We're all awesome. You're awesome. I help run all of our community stuff for our social media. So everything on LinkedIn, YouTube, and as Lydia said, watch the space for more stuff. The coolest thing is we get to share what happens, not only what you're doing in the community, but what's happening on our community site, all the amazing things that you guys do on every single day. So the best part of my job is getting to interact with all of you and share the amazing things that make our community great, which is you. Without further ado, let me introduce the amazing Scott, who helps handle all the stuff that happens on the place where all the answers are. Right, Scott?
Yeah, hopefully so. Yeah, Scott Dodds, community manager over on the Dynamics 365 community. That's our site where we're hosting basically all of you. So your forum discussions, your blogs, your user groups, and of course, events like this we promote as well, community calls and other great upcoming things. So definitely, please, if you're on the site, definitely reach out, and would love to see you there.
Thanks, Scott. And then Charles, like me, has two roles. Charles, do you want to talk a little bit about your roles?
Yep. Hey, everyone. My name is Charles Drayton. I manage the community managers. So if you're familiar with the two community sites, community.dynamics.com, community.powerplatform.com, then you're familiar with people like Scott and Heather, and those are the community managers. And I manage that team. So I'll be the person responsible for all of the great improvements and the vision that we have. And I'll talk a little bit more about that going forward. And the second role is I'm a program manager for a couple of areas. So we all work in a team called BIC, which stands for Business Industry Co-Pilot. So one of my areas that I support is something called BET, which stands for BIC Emerging Technologies, which I know is an acronym and an acronym's terrible faux pas, but like, I don't make up these words. So the emerging technologies are areas such as Copilot Studio, which you might be familiar with, as well as field service and another couple of areas. And I also cover the Copilot apps, Copilot Sales, Copilot Service, and Copilot Finance.
Awesome. Thanks, Charles. Okay, great. So those are our key members involved in community. And I think let's kick off with the call. So awesome. Maybe we should have done this before, but thank you everybody for joining. You can't see the screens?
Good morning.
Morning. Oh, thank you. Okay, so we're recording. I don't think I need to tell everyone to be social because everyone is so chatty and friendly on this call. I also don't really feel like I need to encourage chat and meeting reactions because all the chat about hip hop that's happening right now, I think we're good to go there. And this is your call, which kind of means two things. Like, please get involved, ask as many questions as possible. And we love feedback. We want to keep honing this call to give you what's actually helpful. So one of the ways that Anna and Angeliki, Anna's peer for the CRM call, got involved was by reaching out to me and saying, hey, I want to be involved. I've got some ideas. Here's how I think we could improve the calls. So all feedback is welcome, because we want you to keep showing up, because this is valuable. Why don't we talk a little bit about our two speakers today? I feel like Drew needs no introduction, and we're all very excited to see the hip hop. So excited to hear how Drew takes that as part of his demand planning session. I know demand planning is something that some folks know really well and some folks don't know at all. So we thought that would be a really helpful session to cover. Do you want to talk about the second speaker, Anna?
Yes. I don't know if you met her, but she's a great speaker. Bilur, I met her in Dynamics Minds, and I've heard great things about her. The cost accounting part is also something that was raised in our chat, something that people requested, and we're very, very happy to have Bilur picking this up. She has a lot of experience around the module, so yeah. That's
Thanks,
it.
Anna. A couple of things we want to cover before we get into the speakers. So first of all, we have two Linktree links. If you want to just see all the great content that's being produced and know where to go find it on the community site, LinkedIn, YouTube, other channels, scan that QR code and it will take you to a link that we keep updated with the latest content. Second QR code is for our upcoming events. And again, keep this updated to show Microsoft and community-led events that there's some kind of relevant deadline coming up. Applying for tickets, applying to become a speaker, the events coming up. And what we're going to do now is we're going to talk through a couple of the upcoming events that we thought you might want to know about. So Anna, do you want to chime in?
Yes, of course. So we have Cloud Technology Town Hall in Tallinn, which is a lot of T's. So the event is called CTTT, which is a lot of T's anyway. Of course, the call for speakers has closed, and it's pretty much the agenda is already published. We have a lot of people joining, which is really exciting this time because it's quite cross different platforms, meaning that we will have ERP, but also some other, of course, Power Platform stuff. And I encourage you to have a look at the website and just, if you're around or if you are planning to go to Estonia, just go to Tallinn. I think it's a great experience.
Awesome.
So yeah,
that's the first one. Second one.
Then there's a Dynamics Bootcamp that it's planning. Oh, I didn't remember this one.
Okay, I can talk about it. It's no worries. It's a virtual event. As you can see, it's running basically for a couple of months straight. There's some really awesome sessions there that you can join. And it's a really great opportunity if you're looking to dip your toe into presenting yourself. It's like a nice soft landing to do that. So registration's open right now, and it's just really varied and being covered in lots of different countries as well. So it's awesome. Definitely check that one out. And do you know about Color Cloud?
I do know about Color Cloud. If you submitted a session and you got accepted, it's very likely that you already received that email. If you did not and you would like to attend, also please feel free to go to Google Color Cloud, or the website is colorcloud.rocks. And there's a lot of content in 50% in English, 50% in German, and the tickets are on sale and they have some very good discounts. And additionally, there's like a promptathon, which is like a hackathon for prompts on Tuesday and Thursday, and then on Friday is the full event. So this is going to be quite cool.
And is this the one with like really great representation of female speakers?
Yes, more female than male. So I'm very happy for that.
Yeah. Awesome. Charles, if you could talk. So maybe before we click on that, we started thinking about, there's so much going on in community. There's so many different things that you may or may not be spending time in. We thought it would be awesome if we just covered some of those. So Charles today is just going to talk a little bit about our community sites.
Awesome. Thanks, Anna. So
Awesome. Thank you, Lydia. Yes, community.dynamics.com is a great place to go if you're not familiar with the site. It's a place where a lot of Microsoft-led community activities happen. I know everyone has, their own preferred channels for getting questions asked and answered. You probably have a Discord chat. You probably have a WhatsApp chat. You probably have some of your own things going as well. Community.dynamics.com is a place that Microsoft manages, and it's really essentially co-administered by Microsoft and you in a community, because it's a place to go where people might have questions and they're able to get answers faster than anywhere else. It's not just a forum, though. It's also a community site that has a lot of announcements. So many things that we announce at Microsoft, you hear first to the community.dynamics.com. Anything that comes in through blogs, news, announcements, when we are releasing a new public preview of something, if we are releasing any new features, the community is really the first place to go to get all of that information. And we have some really big plans for it. As you might have heard, that we did a migration on the Power Platform side last year and on Dynamics side a couple of years ago. And it was really meant to allow us to do some of the things we're planning to do this year. We have some really, really, really big plans, including adding Copilot to it to help with answering questions. We have big plans to add, community lounges and forums, more engagement with the product teams so that you can communicate directly with the people who are responsible for the products. So we have a lot of really big plans. So the first step, of course, is heading on over to community.dynamics.com. If you don't already have a profile, go ahead and create one. If you have one already, you haven't been there in a while, drop in. And I will regularly give updates on the things that we have planned and some new things that are coming.
Thanks, Charles. Awesome. Let's dive in with Drew, our first speaker. Drew, you should be set up as a speaker, so you should be able to just go ahead and take control of the screen.
Right. Thank you, Lydia. And I apologize as much as Bobby keeps telling everyone I will not be rapping during this this session. So if you were looking forward to that, then you're just going to have to wait, I think. Really, really happy to be here. Really happy to join today as a speaker, especially with Biller. For those who don't know her, great member of the community in finance. She's actually the one who nominated me to be a Microsoft MVP, so I'll be forever indebted to her. Awesome, and looking forward to her presentation next as well. Can you see my screen all right, Lydia?
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. I'll do a quick introduction to myself. My name is Drew Lensack. I'm a director of delivery at Argano. We are a Microsoft Gold and Inner Circle partner. I've been in the Dynamics space for about 16 years. I actually got my start as an end user, a production planner for a large manufacturing company based out of the UK, not from England like Lydia, but spent a few years there, and kind of that's how I started in an early version of Dynamics AX. One of the reasons I wanted to talk about this topic and thought that this was useful is it's gone through quite an iteration in my time over the last 16 years. For those of you who have been using Dynamics as an ERP, not until AX 2012 R3 was the first time Microsoft introduced an inside Dynamics product for demand planning. We could consume forecasts, we could use them within master planning, but we never had the ability to generate forecasts using data within the ERP. So that's really what I want to focus on today. I'll spend a quick 30, 60 seconds on maybe the history and how we got to the tool we have now, and then we'll dive into a demo and see what demand planning can offer for you as consultants and users and companies implementing demand planning. So first off, demand planning, as I mentioned, a forecasting solution wasn't introduced till AX 2012 R3. That was a SQL Server analysis services model that Microsoft offered, where you could use the cubes that were published in AX to generate forecasts using some very basic time series models, actually using time series forecasting. So leveraging historical data that we had via sales orders and other types of demand, and coming up with those future-facing forecasts, being able to define our time horizons, take that data, calculate a forecast, import it back into AX 2012. It was a very lightweight tool. It was really the first time Microsoft dipped their toes into offering this. Many companies historically relied on Excel sheets or third-party tools like Farsight Solutions, or a Plan It Together if they were using that for full S&OP planning versus just forecasting. A lot of other tools out there as well. So 2012 introduced forecasting, essentially D365 now has what's called the demand planning app, which sits outside of D365 supply chain management. Its focus is really forecasting for financial budgeting and inventory planning. We still need D365 supply chain management for the MRP piece. So we're going to go through an introduction and overview of the app itself, what you use it for, what are the use cases, what is the flow of information through that app. We'll look at core content, focusing on 3 major areas that I think this app really showcases versus older tools, which are collaboration, visualization, and flexibility. And then we'll actually walk through some use cases and demos within the app itself. So this graph here on the left side, it shows what are we using as inputs to generate a demand plan or a forecast. We really need demand. We need input data. If you're using D365 as your ERP, that could be your major input source, where you're actually taking data out of D365, and that can be one or multiple D365 instances, and bringing that into the demand planning app as the first step. If you don't have that demand in D365, because maybe you're just implementing it for the first time, or maybe you have other ERPs, other CRMs, other sources of data, you can also import data from Azure Data Lake, Excel, CSV, and other files. So that's the first step, bringing that data into the demand planning app. The demand planning app itself is very much like a Power App. There's setup in there that you do. If you're connecting to D365 SEM, it's a very easy mapping to the data entities you need. And I'll show that during the demo. You connect to your warehouses, your inventory, your sales demand, so that you can start to create calculations off of that data. If you're not connecting directly to D365, then you'll need to do some of that mapping to your Excel sheets, to your CSV files, to make sure you have things like sites and warehouses and inventory and sales orders coming in correctly. So that's that major first step, is here on the left, bringing in that data. And then you create a transformation. So there are configurations within the D365 demand planning app through transformations and forecast calculations that allow you to do things like select what time series models are you using. Are you using ARIMA? Are you using exponential smoothing? Are you using profit or a best fit analysis? You're also going to set up your time horizons. Are you using a year's worth of data, 2 years worth of data? Are you bringing in just sales orders or all demand? And then you might want to create some extra calculations. Maybe you want to do a comparison of forecast to actuals. Maybe you want to add a 20% growth projection for next year and make some manipulations. So after we calculate and review and get that forecast in the demand planning app, we can actually review it. We can adjust it. We can aggregate it. We can do top-down planning. We can do bottom-up planning. And I'll show a lot of these tools. So really, that's going to be the major piece we focus on here in the demo, is the supply chain management, how we take that demand planning forecast, review it, what tools we have available in it, to then export that forecast back into D365 or another tool, which is where we get into the bottom. All this on the bottom is your current ERP. We're doing the master planning, planning optimization, generation, and firming of planned orders in D365 SEM itself. I see there's a question about Business Central. No, as far as I understand, this is not available in Business Central. D365 Demand Planning is an app that is available with D365 SEM licensing only. So not a Business Central tool. Integrates natively with SEM and can integrate for import and export on some other tools, but licensing is all through D365 SEM, not Business Central. So what is it really? I kind of showed that overall flow, but what are the features of it? Why is this better than the Azure machine learning forecasting that comes out of the box with your D365 SEM basic licensing that doesn't need a demand planning app? Some of the reasons why that was not a widely adopted tool and isn't widely used today is very difficult for collaboration. It's hard to create multiple forecast versions, collaborate with users within the D365 UI itself. This solution solves that with versioning of forecasts, with integration with teams directly into the app itself. File and cell level commenting, which I'll show, much like an Excel experience. You're able to post comments and say why you're editing values and have that audit trail visible to other users. So there's a full audit and change history of versions of what you've published, of different forecasts that you've generated. Visualization, this is a much better tool in terms of visualizing data. When it comes to planning, we're very often looking at reports. It's cumbersome to go through thousands and thousands of rows of data and to not have something visual that we can look at to compare forecast year over year, month to month, forecast to actual. So dynamic reports that update in real time, that are configurable, that can use rolling forecasts and conditional formatting is a really powerful aspect of this tool as well, which I'll try to highlight during our demo. And then the flexibility of it. It natively integrates with D365 SCM on the import and the export. We can also import from other data sources, as I mentioned, CSV, Excel, Azure Data Lake Storage, and then export. It is scalable and extendable. We have worked with clients, and I know other partners who have worked with clients to add additional time series models outside of exponential smoothing or ARIMA or Profit. And you can do exception-based planning and what-if analysis as well. So those are the three major areas where we've seen improvements in this tool versus other Microsoft products for demand planning in the past. And we'll go here now a little bit further into this and talk about what are some common use cases. While I'm bringing this up, I see some of the chatter, and Andre, thanks for taking some of those. Yes, there is a minimum of 10 SCM premium licenses that you must acquire to purchase this tool. It doesn't mean every user has to have an SCM premium license, but to implement it, you have to have an SCM premium license. And then if there are users that are just contributing and not maybe actively managing the forecast, they're just reviewing them and adding comments, there are some capabilities within the basic user license once you acquire the app with the 10 seat minimum. So common use cases, though, why are those folks with the 10 seat minimum using this? Why are they leveraging it? One, it's a low code, no code approach. It doesn't require a lot of the integration and technical aspects of building an API or some other tool with forecasts, although you could argue, we can use flat files for a lot of forecasting solutions. So not a huge deal there, but there are some major areas. One is budgeting. We need to be able to budget. We want to take historical demand. We want to take the price history of our products out of D365, bring them into the demand planning app so we can project what our future sales are going to be. We can project budgets for future periods and fiscal years. Naturally, we definitely want to do sales forecasting. Every demand planning tool, that's one of the major, if not the main use case, forecasting finished goods sales and comparing to actual demand. Forecasting what we actually need to buy based on those finished goods sales projections, which gets into the demand planning and supply planning aspect. If we want to do a full sales and operation planning process, we might need the demand planning app and the D365 supply chain management MRP run and production scheduling and planning optimization all to finish to do the full planning process. All right, demand planning is just one small piece of it. And then another common use case, and I think a hole in previous tools that was a much welcome introduction, is the phase in and out functionality. So every company who's out there selling or making and buying, they're going to have new products. They're going to have new revisions. They're going to have products that are being introduced yearly, quarterly, periodically, ad hoc. They're going to have products that are superseded. They're going to have products that need to be obsoleted out. This allows you to apply calculations for that. So I can take the history of item A and apply it to item B if item B is brand new and doesn't have that history. I can ramp down items that are being obsoleted if we're trying to get rid of all the open inventory we have. So these are all common reasons why companies are looking to implement demand planning and take advantage of some of the solutions it offers. All right, so all sounds well and good, but let's get into the app itself and see some of those sheets, some of the capabilities. I won't go a full end-to-end demo. That would probably take more than 15 minutes. There's great videos out there, either Microsoft Tech Talks. I think even Lydia has presented on some of the use cases we've done with Domino's in the past when they implemented this tool and things like that. But I'll talk about some of the major features. So first, we got to import our data. This is where the mapping comes in. I'm connected to D365 SCM, so the mapping, as I said, is quite seamless. When I configure that as the input provider, my D365 SCM app, I am actually linking it to the source data that I want to extract from D365 SCM into the demand planning app. So this configure provider tab will actually show me which data entities I'm pulling in and want to synchronize when I run an import job into the app. So I'm bringing in my sales orders I'm bringing in maybe picking list journal entries if there's raw materials I want to forecast that are getting consumed. My products, I obviously need those in the system. I need my warehouse, site, customer accounts, and legal entity. These are the minimum required fields I would need within the app so I can start planning against them. We run those import jobs. We have our transformations and calculations. I won't go too into detail into these, but these will be where we control our configurations for time periods, for what forecast method we're using. Are we using ETS? Are we using ARIMA? Are we using a best fit model? Including our forecast profiles. So for example, one of the profiles I used here shows that I'm forecasting usually in monthly buckets. I'm not forecasting weekly. I'm not forecasting yearly. I'm forecasting monthly buckets. I'm forecasting 12 months out into the future, and I have a precision of 0.01%. You can see in the app, we take in several types of files or views: forecast, demand, and financials. And then there are batch jobs, just like in D365 itself, that we would run to generate these forecasts, which is where I want to spend really the rest of our time. I've set up a bunch of different forecasts using different models. For example, this one right here, which was run using the ARIMA model. For those who aren't familiar with ARIMA, it's a Box-Jenkins model. Its aim is to really smooth out a forecast over the long term and remove a lot of outliers. So not always the best fit for things that have a lot of seasonality or a lot of variability. Maybe when I ran this, I wanted to compare it to another model. So one thing you'll see is I have full version history over what's been changed, but I also have a default worksheet here. So I can save different worksheets of the same forecast if I'm doing simulations, I'm making edits, if I'm a local planner versus regional, global, and then up to like up to a global or national planner. This allows us to work independently without overriding each other's changes, which was a big problem in the Azure machine learning solution. So here I've actually dropped two forecasts for different models on top of each other. You can see there's a Copilot icon that pops up that allows me to do some Copilot analysis of shifts between two periods. So this is where some of the new functionality comes in, obviously being embedded into all the Microsoft tools, whether it's ERP, CRM, Excel, et cetera. So here we have some insights into demand planning shifts that have happened. As I'm working within this sheet, if I select any cells, here's my dynamic updates within the worksheet. So I can actually get visual updates as I'm reviewing different data. I can edit these in real time. So I can go in and I can edit entire rows, either top down or bottom up. So if there's a month for a specific SKU I want to manipulate, I can do that here. Or if we're actually planning, let's say at a store level, I'm a retailer and I need to sell 1 million units at a particular store and have that actually explode down to the components that are going to be sold out of that store. Here's where you can change what level you're forecasting at and have that actually applied. So I could remove my product dimension. I can make edits at the store warehouse level, and that will actually push those same edits down to the item level. All of that will be saved and show up under my version history. If I don't like the view, this is, I would say, I don't want to say customizable, but to an extent, it is customizable. So how did I create that worksheet in the past that had the 2 time series? I would actually just simply add it here. And then if I wanted to see a column graph versus a line graph, I would edit it. If we have particular colors, I could edit them here. And this is also where I would put in conditional formatting. If I want to highlight cells that are outliers, let's say it's very unusual for any of our SKUs to have more than 2,000 units of sales a month, and I want to visually call those out in the cell versus have to find them, I can do that here as well. So a lot of flexibility for the user to control what they're seeing. And then the last couple things I'll touch upon, Lydia, keep me honest on the time, I'm not sure how much I have here, is the collaboration features. I'm doing a lot of this myself, but if I'm working at a very large company and we need to go ahead and collaborate, I need to pass this off to Lydia maybe as the regional planner, and then on as the global planner, and then there's a CFO who's going to approve this at the end. There's a couple ways to do that. So one is the version history in the comments. They can see, as long as they have access and security rights to this, they can see all of that history here. And when I say access, that's not the same as your D365 supply chain management licensing. This does have its own licensing and its own roles. So for example, there is a demand planning manager role. There's a demand planning contributor role. Those have to be provisioned through Power Platform Admin Center, and that's what controls what access the user has within the app. Here they can add comments. Those can be for the entire version, or they can actually click within a cell and have a cell level comment as well, just like in Excel. And then here's integration with Teams. If I click this, I don't need to go out to Teams where this meeting is. I could actually use this chat and point someone to the specific version, to the specific worksheet, to the specific entry I want them to review or I have a question on. So really powerful integration with other Microsoft products. Here's Copilot again, if I want to do some analysis around the forecast and configurations and sheets I have, I can do that within the app also. So a lot of flexibility here within what we can do. After you make your changes and are ready to use that data, you would run an export process. So just like I showed the import process before, you can run an export process. All of this can be set up to be run in batch jobs. So if it's done on a specific day every month per your standard process, those import jobs can be set up to run in batch. Those export jobs can be set up to run in batch to bring the data back into D365 SEM into the standard forecast model table that your forecasting solution already uses in D365 SEM and run that. Only other things I haven't touched are some of the later features. Phase in and out, as I mentioned in the slides, allow us to apply different calculations for product lifecycle management, like new product introduction and obsolescence. There's going to be some new features where we can add other inputs, not just historical data from Dynamics or some of those files, but use things like weather data to help manipulate our future forward forecasts if that does affect. So other types of inputs that might affect future facing demand are going to be able to be applied as well in future versions that are coming out in preview. So a lot of active, I would say, announcements on this topic through the community sites that the team mentioned already, as well as the Microsoft R&D Yammer groups. Anders Gurka, I believe, is the program manager responsible for this tool. Him and his team are always giving great demos on the latest features that are coming up. So if there's anything I didn't answer, or if you reach out to me later and I can't answer it, I can point you to that resource, as it's really great as well, keeping you up to date.
That was awesome. You are our new demand planning expert. I think someone is unmuted. Let's just mute them again. Thank you. That was awesome. That was such a great combination of like setting the scene, getting us in the product, and making me confident that you can answer any question that comes along that is about demand planning. So thanks, Drew. I really appreciate it. Your presenter badge is winging its way to you via email after this call. And let's hand over. There's been a lot of reaction in the chat about we're hearing about finance. We're very excited about that. So let's dive in. Bilor, are you? Yeah, there we go. You should be able to just take over the screen. Think, oh, is there something that's saying you can't speak, maybe?
Or maybe because I muted her. Huh. That was me. There you go.
Oh,
You can speak now, I think. Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Perfect. But I cannot share my screen.
Oh, we're bouncing around with some kind of echo here. I wonder why that is. Can you try speaking again?
Hello, can you hear me now?
That's not good, is it? I'm seeing your name listed twice on this call, interestingly. Have you joined on 2 devices?
No, I do not.
Can you try hanging up and rejoining, please?
All right, of course.
I had some new tech problems yesterday because I got a new iPhone, and basically the solution to everything was just turn your iPhone on and off again, and then it solved it. I was like, that. How do I always forget that is basically the only solution we ever need to any tech problem. Wild.
Yes. Have you watched the IT Crowd?
No, I haven't. No.
You should.
Is that old?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it American?
So good.
Is it?
British.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, Scott, I'm so should be so ashamed, shouldn't I? Don't even know my
It's
own.
amazing.
Is it?
So good.
Yes.
I'm not gonna
okay.
spoil it. Yeah.
Okay, so she's back. Are you able to unmute yourself? Did you unmute her before, Anna? Because I don't seem to have that option.
I didn't do anything now, I promise.
I'm taking a look real quick as well. 1 sec.
Thank you.
Not muted from anything I can do.
Wow, we have some real IT Crowd fans in the chat.
Oh, you have no idea. You have no
where have
idea
I
what you
been?
got yourself into.
So
good. So good. There are some episodes even on YouTube.
Yeah, okay, cool. All right, I can take this as official Dynamics 365 community homework.
Recommendation. Yeah, you should. Okay, not really sure what's happening with Bilur. She's back again.
Oh, Sebastian is sharing more Teams woes. I've been having, I don't know if everyone else has been having this, where Teams is like, today you can't use your camera. Tomorrow.
Yeah, it happened to me like 2 minutes ago. That's what I was changing constantly.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what we can do now.
Yeah, I can't control the microphone at all for her.
That's so weird. Also, I feel like she's not replying in the chat either.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it double?
Still get the echo, but we hear you.
Perfect.
Hang on one second.
Do you see me twice?
We see you in the chat twice.
Lydia, if you can see her twice, kick both out, and then will you then rejoin? Perhaps it'll only be once.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me. Oh, now I only see.
I just removed the second one. Let's see if that helped you at all.
Can you try speaking now?
Of course. Can you hear me now?
Done.
Yes! Hurrah! Okay, perfect.
You were doubled. You're so awesome. We
suggested
had
that.
two of you. That was the issue. We had two of you. You're just so amazing. But we took care of it, and now we only have the best part of you with us today. So
Whoever just suggested that, thank you for solving our technical problems on this call.
yes,
Perfect.
we work for Microsoft. No, we don't know how it works. Thank you.
Perfect. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. Then we can start. All right. Hello, welcome. So today we are going to go over the cost accounting, finally. So I would like to introduce myself. I'm Bilur Shamdancoğlu. I've been around Dynamics for 20 years this year. So I have more than 40 project experience, and some of them include cost accounting. I'm Microsoft BizOps MVP, NCT, Dynamics Community Super User, User Group Lead, and Certified Solution Architect. So I renewed yesterday, so it still counts. And not to mention that I'm very passionate on 365 FNO. Today's agenda will be about to understand the concept of cost accounting module, it will not be a detailed training because the detailed training does take 8 to 24 hours. But at least our aim is in the end for me to make you love this module as I do. So the purpose is that this cost accounting, not cost management, so it's more related for the expenses rather than the items. In this module, even if it's in the FNO, it does use various sources. So you can use different applications, different ERPs, and then send data to this module as well. So you do not need to use the data in FNO, but also you can use it. And this module helps you analyze and evaluate your data. So why to use this module? If you say to me, for me, if you need to allocate costs for reporting purposes and you really do not want too many GL transactions in your general ledger, yes, you can use this module. Or if you need versioning for reporting, for example, if you would like to use different allocation rules in different cases for the same company, you can use this module. Also, if you would like to combine a couple of your companies and do the allocation into one version, you can use this module. Also, if you want to report both your real cost and your budget allocations in here, it is also possible. What you can do is that you can allocate cost between the dimensions, like from cost centers to cost centers, or like employee cost to cost centers, cost center cost to products, projects, or you can even have multi-level allocation, like employee cost first to cost centers, then the products. And also you can use currency conversions. You can work on euros, but you would like to do and report in US dollars. It is also possible with you making the currency conversions. You can import statistics that you have into the system, or you can use some statistics from the FNO as well. Terminology is very important in here. Even if this module is in Dynamics FNO, the terminology is a bit different. When you read out the documents, there is a page that tells you about the terminology as well. So I will just mention some. We say cost accounting ledgers. This means that there are different ledgers that we have in the system that are being used for versions. So in one company, you can have more than one definition that you can use. Cost entry is the transactions that we have, because how this system works is that it doesn't do anything to your current data. It copies that data into the cost accounting module in that version and works on that transactions. We have cost objects. Cost objects are dimensions. So when you hear an object, you can know that system means that it's a dimension within the language of FNO. And we have cost elements, and cost elements are GL accounts, like chart of accounts or some accounts that you create in the system as reporting purposes. We have cost control units. Cost control units determines how costs flow in hierarchical order. In here, as you can see, first, cost center control is being used. So the cost between the cost centers are being allocated. Then from cost centers, it flows to the product groups if that is your dimension as well. So as I mentioned, you can have more than one. So for example, you can say from employee costs to cost centers, and then to product group setup can be made as well. As far as I remember, you can use 10 digits here. We have dimension hierarchies. Dimension hierarchies are used both for reporting purposes. So you can report by creating dimension hierarchies, both for, like, for example, for your P&L. Rather than your legal P&L, you can have your here reporting P&Ls, and your dimensions, like your organizational level. It doesn't need to be the same as your organizational level, but you can have different reportings for your dimension, different groupings for your dimensions as well. This is also used to define, rather than reporting, to assigning to rules for the hierarchies. You can classify costs. So there are 3 ways that you can classify: by elements, by traceability, and by behavior. For elements, we can say it can be materials, labor, and expenses. For traceability, we can say direct or indirect costs. And by behavior, you can use fixed, variable, semi-variable, etc. You define allocation basis. Allocation basis means that it can be machine hours, kilowatt hours, footages, count of the computers, head count, whatever you would like to use as your allocation rule. There are predefined dimension members, which can be used also as statistics, and you can define hierarchy allocation basis and formula allocation basis. Hierarchy allocation bases are being used to give rules which hierarchy is being used for the allocation, and formula allocation bases have, which I will show later a bit, mention, is to have detailed and very complex formulas within itself. In statistics, we have 2 types. Statistical measure provide templates are being used for the data that we can take from the system. Like, for example, the machine hours per cost centers that will take from the production ProTrans, or the headcounts, which we can use from the human resources module that you can use. Or if there's nothing that we can use from the system, we can import the statistical measures from the imported statistical measures. In this case, like, for example, the square footages, kilowatt hours, and etc., this kind of information can also be imported to the system as well. So you define these statistics, this allocation based on the policies. We have 5 policies, and you do not need to use all of them. You can only use the ones that you really want to work on. For example, cost behavior policies. You can divide your cost and report them like fixed or variable or semi-variable. We have cost distribution and cost allocation policies. The main difference, of course, there are some differences between them, but the main difference is one of them is reciprocal and the other is not. And we have cost roll-up policies. Cost roll-up policies is a very important policy. Even though it's not mandatory, it's, I think, very important for reporting purposes, and I always use roll-up policies. If you do not use the roll-up policies, which is also advised to use by Microsoft, then you will lose the information what the transaction was before it's been allocated from that cost center or dimension where the data is being stored. So these are like the midway that you can report how it's been allocated from the source to the target. And we have overhead rate policies. And these are the charts predetermined cost rate and magnitude from the allocation base. So in the below, you can see how it works. First, behavior system works, and then does the distribution, then overhead, and then the allocation. So after you do all of these configurations, in the end, what you have to do is to take data from the system. So once you map the data source and the data provider, system will take the data. If it's the FNO, what system does is take the chart of account, take the voucher transactions back in, or budget if you have defined, and takes the statistical measures into your version. So if you have more than one version, and these data will be duplicated. So it's very important that you think how to define your versions if you would like to use it again. And if you process the data afterwards, so when you take the data and you rerun, What system do is to take the delta data for the transactional and dimension level, but for the statistics, or if you run the overhead again, then it will reverse the previous value and rerun the data or the overheads. So it's very important to think before you run over and over again. And then what comes is the analysis and the reporting. So as you can see here, we have cost control units like employee to cost center. So first, it will allocate all the costs within the employees. If the employee has not a cost center, then that information will be sent to the relevant cost centers according to the rules that you define. And in the cost centers, it will allocate costs within. I have created a cost element hierarchy. I say total cost, employee cost, operational, other, and secondary elements, of course, which I have mentioned. And cost object hierarchy, object means dimensions. My dimension hierarchy for me to be able to define in detail of my rules. When you post your transactions, as you can see, we have fuel, and fuel has not a cost center. This means that this should have a rule for the employee to be able to allocate the worker cost to a cost center. So system will use the allocation rule for the employee dimension, the worker dimension. And in here, as you can see, it allocates between sales and marketing according to the magnitude that I have uploaded in the statistics. Also, the others have cost centers, but electricity has the cost center to be distributed. And for the distributed cost center, if the account is electricity, I give him the system and the allocation rule as kilowatt hours to be allocated between sales, marketing, and conference room. If we go to communication, it's a little bit different because it has another rule. It has the call hours, and it will be divided between sales and marketing according to the calling hours. For conference room expenses, the cost center is conference room, but it's a sub cost center, which I would like it cost to be allocated to sales and marketing according to the headcount. If I'm using the human resources, I can say that take the human resources headcounts and then allocate accordingly. So when you go to Dynamics, you can go to cost accounting and you can use the get started. When you click on the get started, system will open you a wizard. And after you fill out all the information and say next, next, and next, system will create your cost accounting ledger. Here you will be able to see your cost accounting ledgers. You can also, without using the wizard, create new one by saying new in here. Okay, here we have three versions, and this is for USP2. You can do the changes in here. After you set up your cost accounting ledgers, you can set up your cost control workspace configuration. This is for the reporting. In the report, you can say that which columns that you would like to see. If you would like to see the current period, previous period, year-to-date average, or fixed cost, variable, fixed variable, and etc. This kind of information that you can add into your reporting. And then you can define your statistical measure provider templates. This is being used for the statistics that you can directly take from FNO. Here I say, okay, I'm going to have the statistical measures from human resources. My source table is HCM employment, and I will have FTEs plus contractors. But I will have another rule, another statistics that I just want to see the full-time employees. In this case, you select the source table again, function as count, and then range criteria can be given. the worker type as employee. This is not the only thing that you can do. Also, you can have from different source tables. In this example, we have sum of production route transactions, which will be summed as hours according to the physical date and with the criteria of reconstruction. You may need some statistics which are not in Dynamics. So in this case, you come to imported statistical measures, and then you upload the data in here with the data management module. Here, as you can see, we have electricity consumption, key, date, magnitude, and the dimension member name. In this case, my dimension is the cost center. And then I am able to use this information in my setups. So after all of the statistics setup, reporting setups, and creating my version, I can do everything under the workspaces of cost accounting ledger administration. I do not need to go anywhere else. So it's very easy to use. We have control units of my versions. So I select my version. It doesn't matter which company I am. You can see I'm in USMF, but I'm working on USP2 version. Because what you can do is that you can have also mixed companies. So in one version, you can have more than one company as well, company's data as well. So I go to control units. In this control unit, I say that first I will use from cost center to product groups and then allocate costs within the product groups. You can see your cost elements, which are chart of accounts, cost object dimensions, which are your dimensions. Here, it will be cost centers and product groups, your statistics, and your dimension hierarchies. Here, for example, we have created an organizational hierarchy. When I go to view hierarchy, I will be able to see the hierarchy that I'm going to use for this definition on this version. We have policies, behavior, distribution, allocation, roll-up, and overhead. Let's check out the distribution. In here, as you can see, you define the policies of the allocation. Here we say, okay, for this cost center, for this account, if the behavior is fixed cost, then I say I will allocate according to FTEs. But if it is another account, then I say I will allocate that account even if the cost center is 0.94. I will use the allocation base as all employees. So you can set up these policies in here. We have allocation bases, predefined, formula, and hierarchy. I will only show the formula one. On the formula, as you can see here, you will be able to set up a very detailed formulas during the allocation. So here you can have the aliases, constants, and bases that has been selected and set up the formulas directly. And then after you do all the setup for this version, all you have to do is from the actual versions or budget versions which you would like to use, set up the data sources from where that I will take this data, and then process the data. Once you process the data, system will take the transactions, the dimensions into this version. And then you can run the overhead. After you run the overhead, you will be able to report. So you go to control units, select the control unit that you would like to report, say view, and then you can export to Excel. And you can do the Power Pivot, or you can create your own Power BI reports. It depends on how you would like to do. So it's easy, right? I think so. So there are lots of pros and cons that I can mention in here. So it treats dependently. You can do your reports very easily. You can make decisions. There are versions. You can use some statistics directly from the FNO, and you do not need to decide this allocation at the time of the posting, or you can use versions. So you decide from one definition, and then you can change it and rerun again. Of course, there are cons as well. So, but when you look in the total, I think pros are better. So in the reporting perspective, as I mentioned, we can export the Excel and do our Power Pivot. So you can easily do your groupings by using the hierarchies that you have defined. Either it's the chart of account hierarchy or the dimension hierarchy. Or you can use the cost control workspace. So in the cost control workspace, according to the fields that you have selected in the parameters, you will be able to see and report this information. There is also that you can use the your phones for seeing the reports, but I have never tried it, and I do not know if it's still active or not, but I know it's possible. Time to time, when you export data to your Excel, it's very hard, because if there's too many transactions, Excel will have a capacity. So in this case, you can create your Power BI reports for decision making. But I find it very easy to use, and while it's not affecting the real life system, you can do anything and everything in cost accounting. This is, as an accountant, something that I really like. So as my last slide is additional info that keep it simple. So you do not need to use everything. You do not need to set up all the setups, all the configurations in the system unless you need to. So keep it simple. And I always advise to run first in test environments and see the results, and then run in prod. Even if it doesn't affect anything, when you rerun multiple times and changing too many parameters, that will cause there will be too many data in your version, and then you might be overwhelmed. But as I said, I really like working with this module, because it helps the user to manage its costs. So I have used these supportive documents. I can share it with you, of course, and then you can also reach out to me in LinkedIn. And thank you so much. If you have any questions, please do write down to chat. So I will try to reply as much as I can.
That was awesome. Thank you. I feel like you packed so much valuable content into that session, and that was very grounding. So thank you so much. The comments in the chat are very, very complimentary. That was really great, and I'm glad we managed to solve the tech issue so we could actually hear your awesome presentation.
I wish we had 24 hours, so it's been bad.
Absolutely, right? I know we need to do a marathon Dynamics 365 community calls. If folks have questions for Bilo, please, I think probably best to reach out directly on LinkedIn at this point, because I think the chat disappears once the call ends. Thanks, everybody. This was an awesome call. It was so great to have so many people here, especially when we're just sort of rolling back into the new year and figuring out what the heck we're all working on before people took vacation. We will see you next month.